And there's nothing more frustrating than reading all their policy books and the legislation and the treaties, and then seeing it carried out, which is the purposeful, planned depopulation of the earth through slow starvation and resources being restricted, and the conflict that comes with when resources are constricted. And then I see Trump massively increasing energy production, and then going to Saudi Arabia and having them increase energy production, which hurts U.S. oil production, but helps the world in general lower inflation and get real money in the hands of people. That's the biggest benefit. And then no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, all the things he's doing, 10 trillion committed in investment, several trillion already here. All of that is exactly what you do if you want to help the people and build a middle class and a sustainable, thriving country and world, building back our morale and nationalism and the family and God. Trump gets an A+ on all of that, but he needs to get more on message and not say, oh, the left are idiots, they don't know how to manage things. No, the globalists admit that they want a post-industrial world. That's John Kerry said last year, we got to cut off half the farming or people will starve. That's what causes starvation, obviously. And they want to cut the resources off so they can manage and control people. That's why in the Netherlands and in Ireland and in Sri Lanka, all over, they're cutting off massive amounts of the farming, taking some of the best farming land ever and saying, sorry, your cows pass gas, it's bad for the earth. That is deliberate sabotage of the world economy to cause a collapse. Then the banksters can loan us more money, bring in a new cashless society, social credit score. That is the end game plan. And they talk about carbon lockdowns for the earth, where you'll be told when you can leave your house. During carbon lockdowns, you'll be told when you can leave your 15-minute city. This is a very totalitarian hellscape, dystopia, sci-fi vision they have. And Trump is 95%, I would say, in opposition to it, even with his limited understanding. He by limited, I mean he's smart about the economy, but doesn't understand it's deliberate. And he goes, oh, they're really dumb. These are the worst ideas I ever heard. Is that why they're all unified, decades getting them in place? Is that why the big banks and corporations are exempt? No, it's feudalism. We don't have resources. We don't have rights. They all have the rights. That is the purest form of economic control.
That's one of my questions. Does Trump think the evil that we're seeing in this, does he think it's deliberate, or does he think it's just, oh, these guys, they don't make sense. What they're doing is dumb. I wonder if we looked at it, sorry, like how is he looking at this? Is he looking at it in a rational sense and saying, wow, these are some really dumb ideas. Look at what they did to California. I can do better. Or is he looking at it like, whoa, this is spiritual darkness in heavenly places. They're trying to do really dark things, and I got to maneuver my way into bringing a change into this world. I wonder how Trump looks at it when he's about to sleep at night. How does he view the people that are doing these things? Because he must know the people who are doing this now. By now, I mean, it's been basically 10 years. You should know by now who's doing it. If you have the highest office in the world. Yeah, he should be aware. I wonder.
It's the oldest form of government.
And you know what I like about Alex Jones? Alex Jones, if you actually listen to him, 20 years ago, he was saying the same exact thing. Same exact, literally word for word. 20 years ago, he was saying the exact same thing. And what he was saying, I would say most of what he was saying 20 years ago, we're seeing it come to fruition. This same Alex Jones that you're seeing right here. 20 years ago, he was saying this. When he was young, he was muscular. In his 30s, he was saying the same thing. But now we're seeing it. We're seeing the digital ID. We're seeing immigration just going into every single society. Mass immigration funneling. It's trying to destabilize civilizations. We're seeing all these things play out 20 years ago.
The most common form of government in world history. And the UN and the globalists say we're bringing back feudalism. Neo-feudalistic capitalism is what they call it. But really, it's just slavery. And that's what we're opposing. And that's what the relaunch of the West is about. That's what Elon Musk understands. And that's why this is a do-or-die existential threat to everybody. People should just get on board and get hardcore, or be absolute feudal slaves if you're lucky.
How do you get on board?
You understand and you research the Great Reset, and you research Larry Fink, now the head of the World Economic Forum. You realize 3 years ago, the UN made the World Economic Forum co-equal to its governing body and its councils. And you understand, if you actually read their writings, the future isn't human. People are bad. Families are bad. We're going to have these AI gods that take over. I mean, it is just the wildest thing that Lex Luthor in a comic book couldn't come up with. This is beyond supervillain stuff. This is real super demon stuff. And you have to identify the attack you're under and that it's deliberate. Then you have to mobilize and get good legislators and governors and others elected. Populists are getting elected all over the world. People are really waking up to this. And we have now these attorney generals winning court cases in Texas and other places where BlackRock tried to come in and say, we're not going to have any investment in your state if you don't get rid of fossil fuels. And then Texas sued Kim Paxton and said, this is racketeering. This is illegal. They won the court cases. It is. Because Larry Fink says this is about control. And we're going to control you. And they control us by managing our money. Well, now a bunch of states are pulling their pension funds from BlackRock. And now Larry Fink is singing a different tune, at least publicly, and they've pulled some of their DEI and some of the ESG stuff, which is the corporate governance. When you wonder why, whether you're in Australia, Germany, or the US or Canada, it's the same policies, the same programs, the same drag queen story times, the same take a knee during the national anthem. All of this comes out of them literally trying to demoralize us, because if we have a free, open society, people around the world are going to want that. And you can't have a control group where there's some free, prosperous Western nations, everybody else slaves under BlackRock and the globalists. That's why you've got to take down the West so there's nowhere to run.
I think that's exactly right. You can't have different systems, radically different systems in a globalized world. Can you?
No, and so exactly. So there's a fight between, do you want the 1984 civilization or do you want the 1776 civilization? 1776 isn't going back, it's back to the future. It was the flower of the Renaissance and the greatest expression of hundreds and hundreds of years of the Great Awakening and of the Enlightenment. And so it's a continuation of that. We have to get back to the future, back to the avant-garde, back to what produces the most freedom, the most wealth. Classical liberalism of Thomas Jefferson. Now, modern liberalism is totalitarian, anti-family, anti-speech, anti-self-defense, anti-private property. The modern liberalism is a totalitarian, death cult, transhumanist, poison to sabotage human civilization. It's a depopulation program. 1776 is the ultimate, most successful push of humans to produce the very best atmosphere of liberty and freedom and competition and empowerment. The problem is, in the cycle, as you know, hard times make strong men make good times make weak men make bad times. The problem is that, are we good enough? It was Benjamin Franklin, right? If they finally, years later, after the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, finally got the Bill of Rights done, and he was walking out, and the newspaper reporter said, Mr. Franklin, do we now finally have our nation? And he said, yes, you have your republic if you can keep it. And he said, and so did Jefferson, he said, you got to have informed, involved, educated people. And Jefferson wrote about this constantly. He said, not just informed about math or Latin, but you got to have people that are farmers. You got to have, people that actually know how to skin a buck and run a trot line. He said, if you ever get people where they're not physically out there able to run and control their whole lives, the so-called education doesn't matter because they're just educated idiots. So you've got to have that multifacetedness where people have to really, and people think of that as work. No, it's empowering to really try to be what Thomas Jefferson talked about. And then when you go through what Jefferson went through, some of us have gone through similar things now, not to that extent, but close. Then you read Jefferson, you realize we're back in that same time of change and revolution again. It's our revolution. We have the ball. We're selling the best system. We have the proven track record. We're the good guys. And we've got to stand up and make the choices clear, plant our flag and say, this is the hill to die on, and we will win.
Wow. Wow. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. God bless you.